I've put a lot of time into Advance Wars 1 and 2, the reboot camp as it's called, which is basically a remaster of a Game Boy Advance pair of games. We touched on this 2 weeks ago when I just started it. I think I'd played, I actually don't know how much I'd played. It must have been a handful of hours. Since then, though, I've finished the first game. The campaign took me about 15 hours, and that wasn't doing every side quest like that. That was just me mainlining it. So a fair bit of content just on that
These
front.
character names are killing me. Sorry. Olaf, Colin, Grit.
A Blue Moon Troop.
It's Blue Moon Troop.
And then, Advance Wars 2, I've only just started. I'm about 5 or 6 hours in. So I've had a fair shake of experience with both games now, and I really like both. I think if you missed the overview of what these are, they are Nintendo's own strategy games. Well, they're not first-based titles, but they've only existed on. They're not first-party Nintendo titles, but they've only existed on Nintendo systems. If that makes sense. They're not first-party, are they? I don't think they are.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if
Nintendo
owns the IP. They don't own the developer, but
I don't look. Okay, doesn't matter.
I mean, they don't own a lot of developers who make first-party IPs. So.
Yeah. Okay. So these are only Nintendo titles, but yeah, it's Nintendo strategy titles, turn-based, and the premise is pretty simple. Like you take your turn, enemy takes their turn, and in these turns, like any strategy game, you can move a number of blocks or you can attack, and that's really the game in a nutshell. But what happens is each mission you do changes in some ways. So there's a variety of missions in how this game plays out. So, for example, a standard mission is, okay, you've got X amount of units. The enemy has X amount of units. You either have to destroy all the units or capture their headquarters. And that's it. Okay. But there are other missions like the one you're seeing now where you capture buildings, and buildings give you currency each turn, and then you use that currency to generate units. And then the game is over when, again, you destroy all enemies or you capture the HQ. But how that happens is a bit different because now you have to strategize on what unit do I build, which building do I go for, that sort of thing. And then there's another flavor in the form of there's a fog of war. So if you're watching this footage, no fog of war, you know exactly where the enemy is. You can plan your moves accordingly. Where the maps where there are fog of war, there's fog of war rather, you need to be a lot more cautious because you do not know where the enemy units are placed. However, the enemy also does not know where your units are placed. So you can do cool things like set up traps or hard units with the hope that an enemy unit will roll up, and fall into a certain range of your attack, for example. And just further in the mix, you get a variety of units from ground units, sea units, air units. And again, they all do different things in different ways. And there are counters to each. So, for example, you'll get, as a ground unit, you'll get an anti-air tank, like an anti-air gun, which is obviously very strong against all air units, but weak against ground units. You'll get air units, which are great against ground units, but can't attack air units. And it's like this mix of finding out which balance of units you need to have on a battlefield to overcome your enemy. So sorry, that's just me rambling, giving an overview of the game. And it's just very fun. Like the way it plays out, missions can take anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, depending on how smart you are.
That's not too bad. That's quite like bite size.
It is bite size, and it's funny because I'm not great at games like this. Like I think if I had to, rank my enjoyments of genres, like turn-based strategy games outside of JRPGs are like not my favorites. Like I appreciate XCOM for what it is, for example, but I'm not hankering to play an XCOM. So I think this is just testament to the fact that I enjoyed Advance Wars. The fact that I enjoyed Advance Wars is testament to the fact that it's very accessible and it's just good fun. I don't know. You played a little bit, but you didn't really.
I haven't played much since then, but yeah, I mean, this is the sort of game that I kind of vibe with, and I enjoy certain turn-based strategy like You know, this really showed me that games like Into the Breach really lend many mechanics from here. So I think that's why I was like, yeah, that because it also has no fog of war. You kind of always see what your enemy is doing. So yeah, I do want to play more of this. It seems fun. I still hate the art style. I think it's bad.
The art style is not great.
It's not good. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I do want to get back to it.
One thing I will say for the second one, that feels like the mission variety is I don't know what the development gap was between the two, because mechanically they're identical. Like same units. There are a handful of new ones that I've seen thus far. But in terms of mission structure, it's not just a thing of, oh, hey, capture the enemy HQ or destroy the enemies. Like the mission I'm playing here, for example, it's, no, the enemy has a lot of units. You need to survive for 14 days. So they changed. It's like, I don't know if this is a correct expression, but they moved the goalposts a little bit, and it just makes the whole experience feel a little bit different. You know, it's not just this thing of, oh, I need to now build units, destroy the enemy. There's a little bit more flavor to it in the sequel. And there are a lot more commanding officers, which I haven't touched on. The leader you play as also determines or has effects on your units, and also have special abilities. So, for example, the starting 3 commanding officers, the one named Andy is very balanced. His units sort of move the same distance, have the same attack power. When he uses his special power, he can repair his units for 2 health each, which is very cool.
Okay.
Like when they damage whatever. There's another one called Sami who... It's Sammy or Sami? I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Sami in my heart.
Like a Sami.
Like her forte is infantry units. So they can capture buildings faster and they do more damage. And all these commanding officers... Oh, and the last one, Max, his forte is artillery. Like tanks. His tanks do a lot more damage than other commanding officers' tanks. So all these little things just, you know, it's about balancing strengths and weaknesses, and it comes together into what I feel is a very, very fun and accessible strategy game. What's quite cool is that there is a casual mode, which is what I've been playing on because I don't want to like kill myself trying to figure out how to overcome the enemy. And it's still been challenging on some of the missions. Yeah, I've really enjoyed my time with this game, and I will finish a second one after Tears of the Kingdom.
After everything else, gestures at the world.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah,
Bless
gestures at the world. Got so much stuff.
So much happening. So much happening.
Yeah.
Cool.
That is Advance Wars. Good time.